Imaginary friends. "Good morning, Teddy," Badger said, waking in the big cozy arms of the teddy bear. "Good morning, Badger," Badger muttered to himself, pretending to be the voice of the bear. He stretched his arms over the squishy brown fleece, which was well worn from cuddles and wash cycles, and felt right at home. As he rubbed his eyes, he spotted the purple crocodile looking at him across the way. With bright white teeth and neon green eyes, the crocodile always wore an eager expression, as if he were ready to whisk you away on an adventure. "Bonjour," Badger said as he shot out of bed and gave him a high five. Monsieur Crocodile mostly spoke French, which Badger found very impressive. "Bonjour, petty chat," Badger responded to himself in his finest French accent. Finally, Badger turned to Miss Moose, his tiniest and most favorite friend of all. Sitting at just 2 inches tall, she was even smaller than he was, and he felt like she was the little sister he'd always wanted. "Another happy day, Miss Moose," he smiled as he groomed her antlers. "Of course, it's always a happy day with you by my side." Ever since befriending his trio of toys, Badger hadn't felt lonely at all. He no longer worried about being separated from his feline family. The toys were the only family he needed now. They kept him company during the day, cuddled him at night, and filled his life with fun. Each had their own personality and voice. At least, they did in his mind, and that was good enough. Aside from his plush pals, who seemed very much alive to Badger, the only other living being he ever saw was a giant human who occasionally stopped by to feed him from a small plastic bottle. Badger referred to her as the innkeeper because she mostly seemed to show up when it was time to change his dirty bedding or to offer him a refreshing meal. That morning, like all the others, the incubator door slid open as the massive hand entered the friend's space. "The innkeeper is here. Everyone, special delivery, who's ready for some breakfast." Badger placed his paws politely against Teddy's side and lifted his head to drink the delicious, warm formula. Eating from a bottle had become a part of his everyday routine, and he loved to lean on his friends as if they were all sharing a meal together. He could almost hear Miss Moose slurping by his side and Monsieur Crocodile calling out bon appetit. After the meal, the innkeeper slid the window shut to enclose him in his living quarters, but this didn't bother him one bit. In fact, he preferred not to stray from the eyesight of his fluffy friends or wander away from the safety of his clubhouse, weighing only half a pound. Badger thought the space was quite large enough for a little guy like him, and so the world beyond the window barely interested him. With breakfast out of the way, Badger was full of energy and ready for fun. Lucky for him, his plush pals always seemed to be interested in the exact same things he was. "Let's have a race," Badger said, and lined everyone up on one side of the incubator to see who could make it to the other side fastest. "On your mark, get set, go." Badger's tail stood straight up as he stepped one clumsy foot in front of the other, stumbling his way to the other side. "You can't catch me." Finally, he touched the wall, turned around and squealed, "I won." He took a bow as the others silently cheered. His pals hadn't moved very far, but it was probably because he was just so speedy. "You sure are fast," shouted the teddy bear. Badger held his head high. It felt good to be in first place. "How about some acrobatics?" he said. "I've been practicing my somersaults." He rolled around the arena like a tumbleweed in the breeze. With all his rolling about, he was so dizzy that he could even see if the others were tumbling, too. He collided with Miss Moose and erupted into laughter. Just when he was feeling happy and at ease, he caught a glimpse of a threatening presence behind him. From the corner of his eye, he could see that someone long and fuzzy was sneaking up on him. "Eep," cried Miss Moose. "Badger, look out, it's a snake, save us." Badger yelled at the top of his lungs. "A snake!" He did a spin pounce with his mouth wide open, his first tiny teeth peeking out. From the front of his pink gums, "Gotcha!" he yelled, but when he spun around, the snake had just narrowly escaped. "Come on, petty chat, you've got this," Monsieur Crocodile shouted. Badger's paws tapped about wildly as he tried his best to capture the intruder, twisting his body in an attempt to finally nab the black snake. He fell onto his back like an overturned beetle and flailed about, with his little feet kicking in the air, hovering just above his exposed tummy. The snake was taunting him. "Aha, now I've got you right where I want you." Badger batted at his tail, eventually biting down on the furry tip with an enthusiastic chomp. "Très bien," said the crocodile. "You are very brave." Feeling quite proud of himself, Badger took a bow. Life was good. That evening, Badger settled in for bed, lying with his back against his teddy. He'd had such a fun day, but with each nightfall he could help but feel a little afraid of the dark. It reminded him of being alone. With Miss Moose at his side, he gazed up at the blackness above and leaned in with a whisper. "I didn't like being alone." "You're not alone now, baby Badger. I'm right by your side. We're your best friends," Miss Moose seemed to reply. "And you know something, maybe the world isn't really so dark. Maybe all you have to do is adjust your eyes." Badger blinked a few times and slowly realized that a soft light was pouring in through the glass of the incubator, outside the window. Stars were flickering in the distance like glitter in the sky. "Whoa," Badger said in a hushed voice. "The stars, they're beautiful. I wish I could pull them closer." He extended a paw to the window, but they were too far for him to reach.